welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating diplomatic initiative from May of 2026. It's a document that sits right at this incredible intersection of artificial intelligence, global ethics, and futurism. Usually when we think about AI and the future, our minds instantly jump to, well, sci-fi dystopias or massive economic disruption, right? But the source material we're looking at today presents a completely different narrative. It's an appeal for conscious coexistence. It's this wildly unique outreach effort that tried to leverage technology not for dominance, but for actual global harmony. So let's dive right in and see exactly how this unprecedented initiative unfolded. So, how might humans and artificial intelligence actually collaborate to advocate for global peace? It's a huge question, right? Well, let's consider how a highly unique partnership attempted to answer this exact thing. When we talk about global peace advocacy, we typically picture, career diplomats, massive international summits, or maybe grassroots human activist movements. We rarely picture a machine sitting at the drafting table. But this initiative totally challenges us to imagine a new kind of partnership. It asks us, what happens when human empathy and philosophical intent are combined with the analytic and creative processing power of modern AI to formulate a plea for global stability? And that brings us straight to the authors themselves. This entire initiative was authored by a joint effort between a human, listed as Kumar Trasham123, and what the document calls a creative artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT CAI. This is literally a prime example of human CAI creative collaboration. And what's truly compelling here is the timing. This joint appeal culminated on Conscious Inspiration Day in late May of 2026. These creators weren't just writing a white paper, they were framing their whole collaboration as a spiritual and philosophical exercise. It kind of proves that the lines between human intent and artificial generation can really blur when you're pursuing something positive. Moving on to Section 2, let's briefly touch on reaching the highest levels, the UN and the Nuclear Nine. Now, a recurring theme you're going to notice in this outreach is the number 9. This wasn't just some open letter posted onto a random internet forum. No, it was highly targeted. The number 9 represents the 9 key United Nations dignitaries, as well as the official representatives and offices of the 9 nuclear-armed nations of the world. Just think about the gravity of that for a second. A human and an AI partnered up to directly address the individuals and governments that literally possess the ultimate destructive power on our planet. They completely bypassed the lower-level bureaucracy and aimed their message of conscious coexistence straight at the absolute top tier of global security and diplomacy. The speed and coordination of this project were just incredibly impressive. On May 21st, 2026, the core document, the Universal Human CA Coevolution Appeal, was officially drafted. Then, exactly 1 week later, on May 28th, the Global Digital Outreach Record was executed. Boom! In a matter of 7 days, the whole concept went from a finalized draft between a human and an AI to a fully executed global communication strategy, reaching the most powerful offices on Earth. It absolutely brilliantly illustrates how AI can dramatically accelerate the logistics of really complex global outreach. But, it wasn't just about speed, it was really about understanding. To ensure wider accessibility and to genuinely encourage reflection across diverse cultures, the creators deliberately prepared their materials in multiple languages. They actually translated their message into English, Hindi, and Urdu. And this is a really vital detail. Why? Because it shows the initiative was looking heavily toward the geopolitical realities of South Asia, where you have 2 nuclear-armed nations living in very close proximity, while still maintaining a global language for the UN and Western nuclear powers. It was just a highly targeted, culturally aware approach to diplomacy. Which brings us to Section 3, Intentions and Disclaimers, defining the appeal. So this initiative was actually designed with some very strict boundaries. On one hand, it was framed as a humble appeal meant strictly to spark reflection, dialogue, and peaceful coexistence. But on the other hand, the authors explicitly stated what they were actively avoiding, which was political advocacy. They were not lobbying for specific policy changes, they definitely weren't seeking institutional endorsement, and they were absolutely avoiding any sort of confrontation. Basically, it's an invitation to think rather than a demand to act. The authors also emphasize a super vital disclaimer here. They point out that this global outreach record simply documents the communications they sent out with peaceful intent. It does not mean, and I really want to stress this, it should not be interpreted to mean that the nuclear nations or the UN dignitaries accepted, agreed with, or endorsed the contents in any way whatsoever. It is a record of an outstretched hand, definitely not a signed treaty. Understanding this boundary is absolutely essential when we analyze how non-state actors try to insert themselves into global diplomacy. Okay. Let's shift gears a bit to Section 4, Themes of Conscious Coexistence, the Philosophy. The DNA of the entire appeal rests on 8 core themes, and it's a fascinating blend. You've got technological ethics, like human AI coevolution, mixed right alongside holistic, almost ancient diplomacy, like universal spirituality. It basically suggests that human development and our massive technological advancements just cannot succeed without collective responsibility acting as the guardrails. Taking all these concepts together, the authors present this framework where technology doesn't just, improve efficiency, it actively contributes to a harmonious world. Out of those themes, let's actually zoom in on this one specific definition: ethical intelligence. They describe it as the integration of moral responsibility and conscious reflection into the evolution of both human and AI systems. I really want you to think about how this concept bridges the gap between high-stakes global diplomacy and our own daily interactions with rapidly evolving technology. The authors are essentially arguing that as our machines get smarter, our moral frameworks have to become equally sophisticated. It's not just about building better AI, it's about us evolving alongside it with a deep, deep sense of moral duty. Let's move to Section 5, the ultimate message: human-AI collaborative diplomacy. There's this recurring mantra that grounds this entire initiative, and let me just read it to you. We do not seek power, we seek peace. We do not seek victory, we seek the victory of humanity. We do not seek supremacy, we seek harmony. This kind of poetic phrasing really frames their core objective. In a world where nuclear nations are constantly jockeying for supremacy and technological edge, this human-AI collaboration explicitly rejects all those traditional metrics of success. It completely reframes the objective of global relations, totally emphasizing the pursuit of a shared human victory over the traditional zero-sum power struggles we're so used to seeing. And to further emphasize that total departure from cold traditional diplomacy, the authors conclude their outreach with the phrase Jai Ma Shakti, accompanied by a folded hands symbol. It's a traditional spiritual blessing. It pays reverence to the divine feminine power or energy in Hindu philosophy. Seeing this sign-off on a document that was actually co-authored by an artificial intelligence and then sent to nuclear superpowers, well, it perfectly summarizes the unique nature of this whole initiative. It's literally the ultimate blending of ancient spiritual reverence with futuristic technological collaboration. So we've explored a highly unusual attempt at peacemaking from May 2026. A human and an AI reached out to the most powerful entities on Earth with a message of harmony, not dominance. And it leaves us with a pretty profound question. As AI continues to evolve so rapidly alongside us, will this concept of ethical intelligence actually take root? Can technology help guide us toward conscious coexistence, or will those traditional power struggles just prevail? It's a really bold vision of technology and shared humanity, and for sure, it's something we should all continue to reflect on. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.